Hey, welcome back. I've got a new amp. If you missed part one of this, I would go back and watch that first. This is the next sort of bit of explanation. I'll put a link below. But part two, I have a new amp. And to be honest, I just love any excuse to pull this amp out. JCM 2000 Dual Super Lead. These are pretty cheap. I'm going to do a whole new video on these as a bargain amp because these are so good. I mean, Nuno Bettencourt tours with them. Hello. Maybe even uses them in the studio. They're not expensive. But anyway, I'm not here to rave about the amp. What it has is a more typical thing you're probably going to find on your amp. So forgetting about the ultra gain, the reverb, the EQ and the presence, which we discussed in the last one for the moment. Over here on the Classic Gain, we have a very simple setup which should be pretty typical. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention in the last video, sorry. In fact, I might even put some text over the video before I put it up. But if you are going to rely on power amp distortion, unless you're lucky enough to live in a recording studio or rehearsal studio, or you have a fantastic set of earplugs, you're going to need a attenuator. That amp I had, the Super Lead, I could not even get that up to volume 2 in here without having people complain at the end of the street and destroying my hearing. You'll need an attenuator if you're going to rely on power amp distortion. That's a whole other thing. There's a billion videos on attenuators on YouTube and what they do. So over here, we have volume, we have gain, and we have a clean crunch button. Crunch, to my understanding, you know what? I don't actually have any understanding. I'm assuming it introduces a little bit of preamp gain, and I'll explain what preamp gain is in a second. But say, first of all, we set it to clean. Set it to clean. Turn the gain up half-ish. Put the volume up. In fact, that's pretty weak. I'll turn it up a bit more even. You can hear that it's pretty much clean. There's a slight little bit of breakup in there. Maybe if we turn gain back a bit. It's very clean. But for instance, if you were going to do a Creedence Clearwater cover, I'd put on the clean channel, I'd turn the gain and the volume up to, I've got them around about 3, or not even 3/4, about 6. You get a bit of a type sound. Important, as always, try the other pickups. You can see it's a huge difference in sound. Which one of the pickups on the guitar is going to get you there? A pickup I forgot to mention actually, but I'll do this, explain it in a bit more detail when I bring up the Strat. The middle one. I called this one like the quark, this one like the round tubey sound. The middle one I call the jingle jangle. I'm not going to really demonstrate it on the Les Paul. It's better on a Strat, but you can hear once again, different sound, same riff. So pickups, guitar, very important. Clean, pushed up a bit, pretty much gets you 80% of the way to Creedence Clearwater. Now, say you were going to do something more hard rock. I don't want to keep bringing up AC/DC, but hey, everyone thinks of them when you think of hard rock. That's not going to get you there. First of all, leave it on clean, turn your volume right up, assuming you've got an attenuator. That's not bad. That might work with some bands, some songs, but it's not quite there. So, okay, what happens if we just pull the volume back a bit and turn the gain up instead? It's not bad. Gain's on full, so that's about as far as we're going to get with clean. You might decide, you know what, for me that's perfect. I can crank out some Akadaka. I actually knew how to play these riffs, it'd be a start. So, that's pretty cool, but if it's not quite there, all right, let's dial volume and gain back. Let's hit the crunch button. And what you'll, now, gain is down low, volume is up, but on crunch, that's getting a lot closer to that rock AC/DC type sound. basically, I don't know what the mixture there is there. Someone knows, please tell me, but I'm guessing that's mainly power amp distortion. Now, what preamp distortion is, that in effect should be the gain knob. And that's the distortion that happens before it goes into the power output section. Very much akin to if you stuck a distortion pedal on in front of your amp, before it gets to the output, all the distortion's there already. And it's just going out and getting elevated, and it's distorted as hell. It's just getting more volume by the time it goes out, maybe mixed with a little bit of power amp distortion, depending on how far you turn the power amp up. But basically, there's the volume on mid. If I just now crank the gain, you're going to get a whole lot of preamp distortion. Now you can hear that. So, that's not AC/DC. Turn the gain way down, the volume up. That's getting closer to AC/DC. Turn the gain way up. I don't know what that's akin to, but you can hear for yourself. You're getting into Guns N' Roses territory and what have you. So obviously, if you want a clean channel, well, put it on clean, turn the gain right down, put the volume where you need it, and presto. Remembering as before, we have a thing called breakup. So fiddle with the clean and the crunch to see which one of those two settings fits you better. Turn the gain down and the volume up so that if you strum lightly, it's a bit too much, isn't it? If you strum lightly, you're not getting much. You strum heavy, you're getting more. So you might get more into the territory of like, that type of thing. So you can see for yourself, if I put it on crunch and turn the gain all the way up and went to the bridge pickup, Wind Cries Mary isn't going to sound so good anymore. It's kind of crap now because if you listen, he hasn't got much gain. It's kind of a power amp just being pushed to the point of break. So the volume might be high and the gain low. However, if you are at home and you don't want to make massive noise, then compromise. Turn the gain up a bit and the power amp, being the volume, down a bit. You might just get somewhere. So yeah, you can find a compromise in there somewhere. Okay, that's that channel. Most amps have this other channel going as well, like a lead channel. In this case, it's called Ultra Gain. Who can guess what that's going to do? Where it is less of your crunch and more of your straight up drive. Now, this will have a ton of preamp gain. So let's switch channels. I'll turn everything down. I've got lead 1 or lead 2. I just leave it on lead 2, which it's on, because let's not confuse things. So volume and gain right down, which means I'm barely even coming out in here. Let's turn volume up and leave gain down. Now gain is right down, but already right near on like 0.5. It's got a lot more. That's the preamp gain, the gain knob, preamp gain. The more you turn that up, suddenly now it's like, whoa, yeah, and turn it right up. You get the idea. So this is what you want to do with this channel. If you're playing, well, first of all, a solo. If you do a solo, it'd be nice to have a channel switch to a channel that has more gain, more volume, because, you know, no one wants to solo through this if you're playing Metallica. But if you are playing Eric Clapton, that on the top pickup can sound pretty cool. But if you play Metallica, you'd have the preamp gain right up for a solo. So yeah, gets all of that grunt you want. Once again, we turn that down, turn the volume up. kind of back to that familiar sound of more power amp gain. Remembering more power amp gain equals gain down, volume up. It might be called something different on your amp. Instead of gain and volume, it could be called volume and master volume. But there will be two ways, unless you've got that really old amp like I had the Super Lead, there'll be two ways to get your distortion going. One of them, you'll turn it up to like 6 and it'll just be kind of crunchy. That'll be your power amp distortion. The other one, when you kick it in, you get to 6 and it's more distortion everywhere. That will be your preamp distortion. They're the important things to get right. Once again, we have EQ. I explained that in the last one. You can hear for yourself. That's turning the treble up. This is the mid. This is the bass. And presence from nothing. Like that. You can hear these are very subtle differences that aren't going to make a huge difference to your sound. In summary, you will have two ways of getting grunt, gain. You can hear for yourself how much gain there is in a song. Listen to AC/DC. Not much gain. It rocks, but there's not much gain. Listen to Metallica. Listen to Slipknot. There is tons and tons of gain. That's all your preamp distortion being added in, just like clicking on a distortion pedal in front of it. So when you listen back to old Eric Clapton, slight gain. Jimi Hendrix, slight to moderate gain. Mark Knopfler, next to no gain. But Foo Fighters, Slipknot, you name it, tons of gain. So that's that summary. But there's something important, and that is the guitar and the pickups. So now I'm going to cross to a Strat. Back with a Strat. So this is where guitars are important. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I might get ostracized here by the general community, but I think it's much more important if you're imitating players that have a Strat to have a Strat than it is if you're imitating players that have a Les Paul to have a Les Paul. Reason being, if you have a big distorted sound, you can really get away with not having the right guitar. I mean, if you saw a Guns N' Roses cover band and you heard you wouldn't be too disappointed. I mean, it's only a real connoisseur would notice, oh, Les Paul would have a little bit more bottom end, a little bit more gain. It's going to be rocking out. It's going to be close enough. That's great. However, if you were doing a Red Hot Chili Peppers cover band with a Les Paul, I think you'd be struggling a whole lot more to get close to Frusciante's sound. But having said that, it only matters as much as it matters to you. Personally, I would probably get one guitar. I might take both, but I would just get one guitar, go and play, get my settings, have fun. The crowd's not going to care. But if you really want to be fussy about it and you want a Chili Pepper type sound or what have you, then you probably need a Strat to do that. So for instance, I'm going to just walk through now the pickups first. These, to me, are much more important than the amp itself. Let me show you why. It's not hard to get an amp to a point of sort of break up clean type thing like that. Okay. If I had that and I was playing Chili Peppers and I stuck, now this, how many albums they've had, this doesn't cover every Chili Peppers tone, but you know what I mean, that jingly jangly clean tone. I go to the bridge pickup and I start playing. That certainly sounds like some Chili Peppers, especially off the era of Blood Sugar Sex Magic. However, you find if you put it to the top pickup, you get an entirely different sound. Which might be more like, you know, that type of sound. It matters. So you can hear for yourself, going back to Sweet Child of Mine. If we put on that pickup and you play the... It's not as close as top pickup. So yeah, it really matters what pickup you're using. So I'm just going to go through some hypotheticals here. Say you were going to do a U2 song, an old school U2 song, which I don't know if I know how to play, but they had a bit of this like thing going like that. So you go, okay, it's predominantly clean, but predominantly clean all the way to just clean can be quite boring. You want to turn the volume and the gain mixture a little bit until you get clean with a bit of punch. Remembering gain is your preamp gain, which if you crank it up is distorted as hell. Turn it down. It's not. So step one, get roughly that same sort of tone. Then start playing with whatever pickup you're on. You can go, yeah, it's almost right, but what? So I'm going to just flick it from the bridge pickup up one. Suddenly it's like, oh. It's like, oh, that's, for me, close enough to cover a U2 song. Now, Edge would have not used a Marshall for that. I'm sure it was a Vox, most likely. Did use a Strat, and as far as I'm aware, did use that pickup. So you can see how close it gets, regardless of the amp. Clean with a bit of breakup. Preamp gain, this is where you can really learn a lesson in preamp gain. Let's turn the preamp gain right up for this. Get it going. It's like, yeah, okay, that's no longer the Edge. So let's turn that right back. You get the idea. If you're going to do Chili Peppers, once again, you want predominantly clean. Turn your gain up a little until you get a bitter, like that. So power amp with the volume, preamp with the gain. Remembering on your amp, volume, the gain might be volume and power amp gain might be master volume. There are different names. People who know more, please comment and educate us all. But there will be two ways of getting distortion. So one which, as you turn it right up, it just kind of breaks up in a nice way. The other ones, you turn it right up, it's heavy as hell. Heavy as hell is preamp and power amp is breakup. So that's it. Say then we were going to do, Bryan Adams, Summer of 69. Why not? I'm sure there'll be some ridiculing comments for that, but well, that's not it. What's the first thing you hear? There's no gain in that. All right. Let's turn the gain up as high as it'll go. No, still not there. Let's put the crunch on. On goes the button. Much closer, but probably a bit too much gain. Let's leave the power amp gain up because it has less of a dramatic effect. It just gives a nice punch to things. Let's turn the preamp gain down. Pretty close to me. Good enough for me. Once again, I'm on the bridge pickup. If I move this up to the neck pickup, watch as Summer of 69 becomes Summer of Crap. Get the idea? There's all these pickups in between you can try. Second from the bottom probably isn't too bad. So yeah, get used to what your pickups sound like. We've covered a lot of stuff. Let's say you were going for something heavier. You wanted to do Metallica. Let's go to the Ultra game. We're going to make the assumption that the classic game, the Crunch, is not going to be enough for Metallica. Lots of preamp gain for Metallica type of thing. So let's turn the gain down, the volume up, see where that gets us. Not even close to Metallica territory. Let's turn the gain up. Now, once again, I'm on a Strat. They don't use Strats. They don't use Les Pauls either, except Kirk with his greeny thing. But you can still hear. Bridge pickup. It's close enough. Even if you crank the gain more. There's a lot there. So Les Paul will get you closer. By the way, that noise is the bridge pickup. Turn it to the next one, and it goes. Les Paul will probably get you closer, but you get the idea. Lots of preamp gain for Metallica. Slipknot, Foo Fighters, up and down. They have some cleaner power amp gain, like Learning to Fly. They have some full-on, more preamp gain, like All My Life. You can hear Whenever there's masses of distortion, that's preamp happening because power amp gain doesn't really go into that territory. It's more crunch. So let's throw some different examples. Say you were going to do, say you're going to do Eric Clapton, Sunshine of Your Love. Once again, you'd start with clean to break up. Somewhere there. Not enough. So let's flick the crunch button on. Ooh, much better. Okay, that's much better. But once again, will it be even better again if we change pickups? And I'm going to cheat and go all the way to the top because I think that's what he does it on. It's closer again, but here is a lesson in EQ. That sounds pretty close to me. But why is it so dull sounding? Well, let's turn up treble. Maybe in presence a little bit. Only guitarist on earth who doesn't entirely know. Who is it? Okay, it's got to be that. Anyway, so that's how you kind of get there with that. So to recap, I hope this has been useful. Now I will do one more, the Chili Peppers, because it's one that it's a very distinct tone. You don't want to be getting that tone drastically wrong if you're going to do a cover of the Chili Peppers. So once again, do you hear much distortion? Well, if it's Danny California, yes. But if it's your typical Chili Peppers sound, then no, it's pretty clean. But remember, pretty clean is also pretty boring. So you hear... It's not much of a... It's not very exciting. So you want to start gaining it up a bit so it pushes, you know? You turn the power amp up and a little bit of gain and the thickness comes in to make it more like him. And then of course, and I have no idea what pickup he plays it on, but you have all of these. And the top one. Maybe it's that one. I have no idea. But you get the idea. You fiddle and you fiddle until you've got the right amount of gain, the right type of gain, power amp, preamp, more importantly, the right pickup and maybe the right guitar. And then EQ is the icing on the cake and presence is the icing on the cake. Probably not something in a mix live that anyone's going to notice because the sound guy is going to be EQing you anyway. Hope this has been helpful. Any comments that say, hey, I didn't understand this, or can you do a video about that? More than happy to do it. I hope it's been instructing. I hope that people put comments that teach me things too. And bye.